With Destiny 2 Beyond Light right around the corner, it's finally time to start talking about some serious armor investment. This season, Season of Arrivals, happens to be a little bit longer than your typical season, so that gives us an opportunity to really finalize what kind of armor you want to bring into the next big expansion. Now, for me, the most important thing when it comes to armor, very specifically, is this right here, the seasonal mod slot. You know, the thing that holds the really, really good mods. Now, there are plenty of reasons why you might not care about the seasonal mod slot. However, I tend to be of the opinion that the seasonal mod slot is very, very good. There are a lot of great mods in here, including Charger's Light mods, Warmind Cell mods, as well as the Fallen, Taken, and Hive mods. In particular, the Fallen mods look like they could be very useful next season. Anyways, these mods are fantastic. But there's some weirdness about how they're equipped. So if you remember the sort of the basics about how the seasonal mod slot works, basically the seasonal mod slot can hold mods from the season that the armor was released in, the season preceding that season, and the season following the season it was released in. So that means that a season 8 piece of gear can take mods from season 7 and season 8 and season 9. There is one main exception to this, and that is the armor from this season, Season of Arrivals. Season of Arrivals, currently, well, in the future, coming this November, will be able to take mods from Beyond Light, presumably, unless they change the system, which it does look like they're going to. And we'll talk about that in a bit. But it can also take mods from the current season, the preceding season, which is Season 10, and the season before that, which was Season of the Dawn. So it can take all the Charger's Light mods. This was a change they made a little bit later into the season. If you didn't catch that, check it out. You can put in all of your Dawn mods like High Energy Fire into Hold Fast armor or any armor from this season that isn't exotic. So that means that optimally, if we're going to try to get as few armor sets as possible with good rolls that will be sunset as late as possible, which we can do, the armor from this season is really, really good. Now, there are a lot of options for this season's armor. A lot of options, actually. So, for example, if we look at faction armor, we can see, of course, that the Holdfast set is in here, right? These are the armor pieces that you get from this season, particularly from Umbral Engrams, as well as you can use the Solstice set, which we got. And then there are some endgame sets you can grab as well for the Moonfang set and the Crushing set. So the old Trial set, right? And then the Moonfang armor as well, which you can get from the dungeon. So there are a lot of options. Of course, plenty of just drops that you can get from engrams out there, which is really great. Many, many different options. I'm kind of partial to the Moonfang set myself. So if you're going into next season, what's the first armor you probably want to masterwork? Probably just armor from this season. Easy. That way you get all the Charged with Light. That way you get Warmind Cells if you still want to build around those, which are still very, very good. Especially if you're using a solar subclass. Obviously, going into the next season, you're probably not going to be using them. But if you continue to use the Ikulos weapons, which are very, very good, you'll have access to Warmind Cells, so you can still nuke rooms. Moving on from there, the next set that I think is really important to have access to is either the Last Wish set or the Scourge of the Past set. So there's an important distinction between these. So both of these sets will have the seasonal mod slot for their respective season, even though if you look at their armor, for example, if I go back to my armor, it's going to show, for example, on my Scourge of the Past armor, it's going to show the icon for this season. That means it has a maximum power of 1360, which right now is the max power you can get. However, it still retains the Season of the Forge armor mod socket. Now, there's only mods for Season of the Outlaw, which is Forsaken, and Season of the Forge. There's no mod in the Season of the Drifter, and there are no mods from the Warmind expansion. So it really doesn't matter which one you get. If you get Last Wish armor, you can take all the Fallen and Taken mods. If you get the Scourge of Past armor, same thing, all the Fallen and Taken mods. So this is really just coming down to looks. Now, obviously, this armor the Scourge of the Past armor, this is getting sunset in the sense that you're not going to be able to get it anymore. This goes away in Beyond Light. However, you can solo farm chests for the Last Wish gear. I don't think I have any on me, but yeah, you can solo farm chests for the Last Wish gear, which is really, really nice. For example, so I have a fully masterwork piece here already, just ready to go. This is from Scourge of the Past, just has an ornament on it. I think this is going to be particularly useful. You probably heard about how good Taken Barrier is. Guess what? Fallen Barrier, which I don't quite have yet, still farming those chests for it, is also going to be really good. So I highly, highly, highly recommend getting into Scourge of the Past if you haven't already. So those are so far, right? We want to do one set from this season, right? You probably want to cover as many elements as possible that you use. I tend to use a lot of Void stuff because that's Grenade Launcher Reserves, and I use a lot of Anarchy and Mountaintop, although not so much maybe next season. And then either Scourge of the Past or Last Wish. So that basically covers most mods. Now there's 2 more seasons we got to cover. That is Season of Opulence, which is Season 7, and Shadowkeep, or Season of the Undying, which is Season 8. So these 2 are right next to each other, which isn't too bad, theoretically, right? You can actually already get Masterwork gear that holds those mods. So if you get the Dreambane gear, this has the ability to slot in mods from Menagerie or mods from Crown of Sorrow. You can get both in Menagerie. And you can also slot in the Season of Undying mods. These are specific to Nightmare Hunts and the Garden of Salvation. If you don't do either of those, you probably don't care that much. And then there's maybe a reason that you maybe Masterwork Drifter armor. However, getting Masterwork armor for free I shouldn't say for free. You get this Masterwork armor drop from running Pit of Heresy. There is one problem with this armor set. Even though it's pre-Masterwork for you and you don't have to do as much of a grind, it caps at 1060 power. So this is the highest power level, and this piece is 1058, but basically this season, this is the highest power level this thing will ever be. It will not be able to go up to the power cap of Beyond Light, which means when Beyond Light comes out, I'll probably be scrapping a bunch of this armor. And I don't really want to encourage people to go farm armor that's going to be going away very, very soon. So instead, I would recommend looking at armor from the season that has good stat rolls. Or sorry, from the Season of Undying that has good stat rolls. Or Season of Opulence that has good stat rolls. That way you can slot in all the mods from the Nightmare Hunts if you want those. But in particular, the really, really good mods that you want from this are the Hive mods. Hive Barrier is so good in the dungeon right now. And Prophecy also really good basically all content with Taken because there happens to be a lot of Hive Taken. It doubles with Taken Barrier. It's just fantastic, as well as, of course, Hive armaments. I will point out, of course, Bungie is looking at these mods, not necessarily the Hive ones, but all the other faction mods, enemy faction mods. So don't necessarily expect these mods to continue to be as good as they are right now. So yeah, so basically, to recap again, we're looking at a full set of the Holdfast armor, which gives us all the mods from Season of the Dawn until the current season, plus possibly Season 12 unless they change it, which it sounds like they might. We'll have a set from probably I would target either Garden of Salvation or the Crown of Sorrow set. Garden of Salvation can be solo farmed if you've already gotten drops from Garden. And finally a set from Last Wish or Scourge of the Past in order to have the Taken and Fallen faction mods. So let's talk about what Bungie has said. So in Season 12, what they have basically said is that they want to have the Season of Mod slot cover all mods that were released in that year. And what does that exactly mean? Well, there's a few different things it could mean. So if we jump into our mods and our general mods here, that could mean, for example, that a piece of armor that was released in Destiny 2 Year 3, which started with Shadowkeep, can hold mods from Shadowkeep all the way through, including all of these Charged with Light mods, all of these guys, all all of these guys, plus the mods that you can't see here, which are the new Charged with Light mods from this season that don't show up in collections for whatever reason. So basically, all the mods from Undying, Dawn, Worthy, and the current season of Arrivals. So they would contain all of those mods. In that case, we can cut down quite a bit on the number of sets that we actually need to masterwork. That would mean you would only need a set from this season, or somewhere in year 3. Right? You could use a garden set. You could use the whole fast set of the Moonfang set. You do want to prioritize, of course, getting a set from getting a set that won't be sunset soon. So you'd only need one of these, right? And then you would just need one set from year 2, which would be, for example, maybe your Scourge of the Past or Last Wish, or you could use Crown as well, or you could even use some Gambit armor if you wanted to. But particularly, you want to target the raids because those have the longest lifespan. That means also when the next expansion comes out for Beyond Light, whatever the armor for that season happens to be, whatever that ends up being called, you want to masterwork a set of that. So then you'll have sort of those 3 sets cover 3 years worth of mods. It sounds like a lot of work, but if you consider that you're basically holding on to like a year's worth of content, it's not as bad. You have basically like a full year to try to masterwork these sets. Now, if you're doing 3 characters, that's going to be a little bit more of a struggle, but maybe you don't need to masterwork every single piece, or every single element. Of course, for now, guess what? The Dreambang gear is really, really good. It holds Hive mods, it holds the Charged with Light from Dawn mods, and it holds some stuff from Season of Undying, and it comes pre-masterworked. And, although the stats aren't great, when Beyond Light comes out and you're like, well, I don't want to use these anymore, I want to masterwork something else, you can dismantle them and get 6 enhancement prisms. I have so many enhancement prisms that they are overflowing into my postmaster. And I just don't farm. I really, really do not farm for these things. But I also don't masterwork a ton of stuff. I just use what I get. So that's basically my armor guide. And like I said, depending on what Bungie does in the next season, I think will make a huge difference in what kind of armor you want to target. The safe picks for now are do something that's available this season that has the max power cap that you can currently get, which is 1360, and do either the Last Wish or Scourge of the Past armor. That's the safe way to do it for now. And then just wait and find out if we do need to masterwork one more set for whatever reason. But it sounds like those might be the only 2 you need to do. So I would prioritize those, and I think you'll be good to go. And you have all the mod coverage, and you can experiment with all the different mod combinations that are out there, which are really, really good. And if you haven't already, definitely give it a shot, because honestly, messing around with these mods is some of the most fun I've had in a long time. Some of them are like really straightforward, but like every time I go into Leviathan, I'm popping on these opulent armor mods, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, you just do more damage with your abilities. It's awesome." Or you take less damage if you use Striking Hand, or you do more damage if you get a melee kit. Like, it's crazy. It's good stuff. Anyways, thank you guys for checking this video out. And until next time, then.